The Rock by T.S. Eliot starts like this. The endless cycle of idea and action, endless invention, endless experiment brings knowledge of motion, but not of stillness, knowledge of speech, but not of silence, knowledge of words and ignorance of the word. All our knowledge brings us nearer to our ignorance. All our ignorance brings us nearer to death. But nearness to death, no nearer to God. Where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? The cycles of heaven in 20 centuries bring us farther from God and nearer to the dust. These words, written in the 1930s, diagnose symptoms we are suffering from even more intensely today. The amount of accessible data gets larger by the second, but we have no clue what to do with it. The tools we use to build things have upgraded, but we can't decide on what to actually build. The cultural heroes of the Enlightenment, David Hume, Adam Smith, Denis Diderot, Voltaire, etc., championed reason, rationality, measurable evidence, and coherent chains of cause and effect. All the new technologies and scientific breakthroughs of the modern world would have been impossible without these ways of understanding our observations. There's no doubt that knowledge and power accelerate progress. But these are strategies and tactics, not values or goals. The rising middle classes of the Enlightenment era suddenly found themselves educated enough to confidently read the works of ancient scholars, but with no connection to the experiences and devotions that inspired them. Enlightenment writers were so in love with their own ability to reason that they convinced themselves, and many others, that the only acceptable way to interpret the world was with logic. This leaves considerable blind spots. And when you actually read their writings, you can sense their unrestrained contempt for anything that doesn't make sense to them according to their own interpretations, making their blind spots even more blind. We see this lineage of contempt showing up again in the writings of Enlightenment fans like Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, and Steven Pinker. They dismiss layers of meaning and wisdom found in our traditions, calling them superstitions, primitive myths, and useful fictions, all with a smug sense of superiority that's hard to ignore once it's been pointed out. Science is about pursuing objectivity, stripping away local metaphysics, and filtering out human context. But every piece of writing, including scientific writing, emerges from a context of associated meanings, history, and lived culture. Absolute objectivity is itself a myth. If you can't read a piece of writing with an embodied appreciation of the context and history that surrounds and overlays it, including the biases and human subjectivity, you can only say you can read in the most basic sense. Having the ability to translate script into words is the lowest possible bar for literacy. There are many people that seem intelligent because they can recite facts and drop references, but have no depth, no connection to the real world, no culture, no appreciation of the values and motivations of the people around them. To them, everything is flat, material, and zero-sum. The modern world is built according to their design. Superficial, hedonistic, godless, lonely, and cheap. Visit any museum. You'll see hundreds of tourists walking past displays filled with sacred objects, handcrafted tools, and historic artworks. But as they look, the only thought they have is, that looks nice, or that's interesting. They will never venerate those sacred objects. They will never use those tools. They will never truly believe that the stories depicted in those great artworks apply directly to them, which is the whole reason they were preserved and displayed in a museum in the first place. 7 billion people can read today. More text is being written now than at any other point in history. The Enlightenment was a catalyst for an explosion of literacy in modern times. But as the world has become brighter, it has also become shallower. We LARP at intelligence, posturing as deep thinkers, quoting ancient wisdom without letting it properly guide us, without actually believing in it. In the past, when literacy was rare, if you were a reader, you didn't just read. You grew up with the same stories your grandparents heard, celebrated the same festivals, beheld the same imagery. You brought generations of experience, history, and myth with you into the text. In the ancient reader's mind, symbolic associations and inherited truths connected like layers of lenses superimposed over the script, refracting and reflecting each other in a kaleidoscopic mosaic of meaning. Where there is common experience, purpose, and tradition shared between reader and writer, so much more can be communicated beyond the simple translation of words on a page. Readers of the past could discern this deep subtext without conscious effort. This is what I call hyperliteracy. Our culture is being erased by commercial incentives, by personalized feeds, by an ignorant contempt for the past. It comes down to this. We just don't do stuff together anymore. Everything is customized and individualized. We're so obsessed with being unique outsiders, we forgot how to be part of a community, a history, a territory. We live in an age of superabundance. So in theory, we can have anything we want, but in practice, we can only satisfy our shallowest and most primitive desires. We eat the highest calorie foods, do the lowest effort work, sit in the comfiest chairs, enjoy the longest lifespans that human beings have ever known, and we fill our long lives with frivolous entertainment. This has left us disconnected from each other and our past. We do none of the things our ancestors did. Simple experiences shared across the ages, growing plants, hunting animals, lighting fires, collecting water, building houses, looking up at the stars, all needless in a world where everything comes cheap and easy. We eliminated all the simple problems that used to burden our days. But without that, what connection to the real world is left? What makes us human is our desire for more than just simple pleasures and mindless escape. We're not satisfied with that. We long for something greater. We have an irrational and unreasonable drive to do more. Even when we're comfortable, even when we're safe, there's always further to go. And we've been collaborating on this for centuries, working together to expand, explore, evolve, and figure out where's best for us to go next. What we do after all the obvious problems are solved. This process was shared between us across the generations through culture, through rituals, through stories, and through text. But if you don't have the ability to read beyond the basics of a line of script, if you can't overlay the words on the page with an experience of a real human life, you can't use it to discern the right way to go, because that discernment is not in the text, it's in us. I'm Ben Fleming, and if you're a forward thinker of any kind, I want to partner with you and use my expertise in health and fitness to help you become the person you want to be so you can build the future you want to see. You and I can build a better world for everyone forever together. Let me know what you're working on. Writing gives human beings the ability to capture life in text, but only the parts of life that fall neatly into linear order. The printing press made writing more accessible and distributed, but it still only delivered one word at a time. The internet hyperlinked text together into a web, allowing us to jump from one line of text to another. And now large language models measure the links between words to predict which one comes next in a single file line. But life is not linear, and you don't just read one line of text, but hundreds. Each new line you read, you're remembering all the ones that came before it. In your mind, they overlap at different scales. Some move above, some move below, some move away, and others gather in. And as they move, they join and merge to reveal new shapes and patterns in the ideas they contain. Then the real test comes. Those patterns meet the material world, and the knowledge of the reader is embodied in action. Ideas are challenged by the constraints of a life lived in full. This is how a piece of writing can contain much more than what the lines of text spell out. We are capable of a much deeper understanding of life if we practice a level of literacy that reads beyond mere words. True wisdom and success comes from discovering what unites our lives into a common purpose and experience across borders, across culture, and across generations. In the modern world, finding anything we all share like this is getting harder. But there is something I've discovered is fundamentally universal to all humanity, no matter where you come from or where you're headed. The body. Flesh and bone, liver and stomach and bladder and brain, our hearts, our eyes and our hands. We all breathe and move and eat and sleep. So let's start there. I've been working on this for more than a decade. At gymnasium.net, there are loads of tools and resources to help you make your body capable, durable, beautiful and strong. But it's not just a fitness thing. We achieve these outcomes through a deliberate process that reveals universal truths. And the models I use were discovered by overlapping and joining the many things I've read with real experience working with people who choose to make things happen. You can be a hyperliterate reader too when you do this purposefully, reading widely and experiencing real life, noticing and testing the patterns that emerge. If you know you're capable of more, but you've been feeling a little lost, maybe this will help you find what you've been missing. Literacy is about what you're reading. Hyperliteracy is about why you should bother reading at all. If you're not doing anything real, then there's no reason to care about what you know or how things work. And that's why people don't read. But you are in the real world, attempting to do real things. You're not just a tourist in a museum. You need to figure things out and learn about life to achieve what you want to achieve. It's not fast, it's not easy, and it can't be faked. But it's the only way to build a future we want to live in. What was the last thing you read that actually changed the way you live your life? Comment below or send me a message. My handle is @GymnasionUK on YouTube, Twitter, Substack, and Instagram. Like, share, bookmark so you don't miss the next post. And take a look at gymnasion.net for free stuff to help with your health and fitness. See ya.